thing called primal learning. This is the first thing you learn is what you do in times of stress. So in here, we want to be in a swimming position, which is being horizontal, and we want to do things, get them, they can blow bubbles and get them underwater for 5 seconds and things like this. To teach them a foundation, so when they're old enough to learn to swim, they'll be able to swim correctly. And there's a guy in... Anyway, there's a guy in Sweden who's the director of their international method of stroke analysis for the Olympic team.
Okay.
And he analyzes their Olympic swimmers every 10 or 15 feet along their race.
Okay.
And somebody asked him at the end, they said, well, what do you do to prepare a child to swim? He said, well, teach them right the first time they learn. And so that's what we do here. My PhD study was in applying laws of physics to swimming.
Okay.
I did a cadaver dissection with the med students and exercise physiology, so I have some idea what goes on in the body.
Sure.
And we study the brain all the time. Right now there's so much in the brain now from Columbine shootings and things that they're studying how the brain reacts and things. There's a guy who wrote a book called The Anatomy of Violence that studies the brain neurons, helping the violent offenders, how they can change those systems and stuff like that. So anyway, we think in here, the babies in the water, people with autism, and the babies under 1, and they get more blood, more movement, things like that. They get more. We think that baby. Can he watch her?
Yeah.
Okay, well you come around here.
Okay.
Don't be so distracted. Sorry. But anyway, what happens is as we with the babies, if they're in the water, the babies his age can get to move their legs. They won't fight gravity. They can move their arms and legs a lot. They get more blood circulation, nutrients, and oxygen to the brain. I think it might prevent autism. And in China, I've been there a number of times, but in China, the hospital, all the hospitals in China have this. They have vertical pools. You put a baby in there when they're 2 days old, 3 days old. And I visited the hospital there. There was a 4-day-old kid who wasn't doing much. But there was a 6-month-old kid who was just clogging the whole 20 minutes in that tank. They put a foot ring around the neck, which looks terrible, but see, they don't want the kid to cry, so they don't want their face to get wet. And so they do that with them. But they do the exercise, and it's kind of, it's interesting they do that. China has a pretty good scientist, I think, that works that way.
Cool.
So we do it in here, and you look at most American kids, they don't. If you look back to the basics, and I a lot of times go back into the primal learning as we do, and like most animals, when they're born, they come out and the mother and father teach them how to survive, immediately. I mean, they don't wait a year to do that. But American parents, human parents, they do. They wait a year. They feed the kid, and here's your food, we'll do that. And there's a guy in China who designed a pacifier that has a hole. You put food in it, and you put it in the baby's crib. The baby finds that pacifier like how hunting has his own food. But in China, it's a big deal because they have to chop up their own baby food. Anyway, they have a lot of babies choke to death in China. So anyway, it's a big thing he did there. But basically, we can train the children. The children are born, they come out of the womb knowing the mother's voice when they come out. They know the father's voice within 2 or 3 days. And so with it, your voice means a lot to them. So what we do in here, you can talk to the children. So you're okay. And you talk with confidence. They can tell by your voice inflection. Babies can tell by looking at your face. And they read your face. So we do things in here. We have a mirror set up right here. You can look at from the water. You can see them through the mirror and they can see you. And other things we do to get them used to the water.
Okay.
And we can, there are ways we can do it. We get water across their head with a rain bucket, things like this. And you see how they do. A lot of times if they're crying, we don't want to give in, sort of like we don't ignore it altogether, but what if you don't want to reward a negative behavior? So if your child comes up to your bedtime leg and starts crying, and you pick them up, you just reward that behavior you don't want. Because later on, you're in a restaurant somewhere and they want you to pick them up. You don't pick them up, they'll cry, and they'll cry louder and longer until you do it. So you want to try to not reward negative behavior. So that's stuff. And that's what we're trying to do. When I was your age, I had kids, I didn't know any of this stuff, so don't feel bad. I know any of it. I rejected a lot of stuff I preach today. And so I know now, I know better. I have been taught it for 35 years, probably 30 or 40,000 adults and babies and kids. Most of the stuff like that. Many people come back to me years later and say, thanks so much. Our kids are in college now, but they do it at their life. We try to teach character in here as well as swimming. And so with the babies here, we get them comfortable in the water and things like that. So we start with her, when you hold her, you both get hold of in the back where she can't hold on to you. Babies at 6 months begin to fight for control. And at night they'll sleep, or they'll wake up and they'll cry for 2 or 3 minutes and they'll stop for 20, 30 seconds, see what you're going to do. And they'll start crying again or whatever. And when baby's 9 months old, I've seen them here fighting for control of their parents. And so we want to maintain control. And by starting now, there's a cliche I heard later, a saying, says, when's the best time to plant a tree? Well, 20 years ago. And so the best time to teach your child, control and things like that is right now, not when they're 5. Once a kid's, like I see Dr. Phil's show, I will see it a few times, not much, because it's just entertainment, it's not really facts. Anyway, come on there, and it's mostly people who are in their, kids are in their 15 to 20 who have never learned any respect for their parents, have never learned any discipline. They get on the and they fight with their parents like they're on television. They curse them out and stuff like that. It's almost the same thing almost every day. And so with it, say, these people, he never tells them, you should have started back when you're young. Right? But if you start back when you're young, I have people, I have one lady, a pharmacist, everybody's here. Oh, thank you so much. My kids are so much. That's what we do. And we'll see how it works. We go in the water and we'll take them both in the water. The baby the water's pretty warm today. It's about 89, 90 degrees. And we'll see what we can do with them and we can do with her, and I'll give you some things that we can practice.
Okay.
And nothing happens perfectly the first day. We'll work with it and see how it works out. Oh, wow, Vaseline.
No, honey, you don't need that.
My mother used to have a daycare center. Back when they had chicken pox, it was a big deal. And it's in a little jar of Vaseline. What happens? Kids would have sores on their skin. And she gave every kid who had a little one jar of Vaseline. They pull it off. If it itches, take the fingers out and rub it on there. Which is kind of miraculous. That doesn't break down the...
Yeah, that's what my favorite child just said. Vaseline is the best cure for any of the open wounds or cuts or scrapes.
They call first aid kit in a jar.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go ahead and bring them in the water and
Okay.
get going.